Okay, welcome guys. My name is Cas Boot and I recently read The Book of Joy. It features the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. It's written by Douglas Abrahams, and in these videos I want to tell you the most important lessons that I took from the book. And one of the lessons is how to deal with problems. So the first tip the Dalai Lama gives is take a wider perspective when you encounter a problem. And I'll explain it to you by giving an example from my own life. So 2 years ago I had to quit my job because of medical reasons and I had to pause my studies. And at the time I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And now I can actually see that this healing process taught me a lot about myself and about my own values. And also I was able to discover a lot more depth in my own life. So now first I was only able to see part of the pie, so the horrible negative part, and now I'm able to see the whole pie. And because of that I was suffering a lot less. So that's the first tip the Dalai Lama gives: take a wider perspective. Second is take a longer perspective. So the Dalai Lama says, ask yourself whether this problem that you encounter now is something that will still be an issue a month from now, or is it something that will still be an issue a year from now? And I'll give an example from my own life also. Yesterday I was having lunch with my mom and there was a small dog in the cafe that was barking, and I was really annoyed by the dog. I was thinking, why do people take pets to restaurants, and all these sorts of negative thoughts. And then I asked myself, wait, in a month from now, do I still think that it was a problem that one day I was having lunch with my mom and there was a small dog next to me? Probably not. Probably I'll be able to even laugh about it. And let alone a year from now, I'll be able to laugh about it even more. So then I was able to just let it go. So that's the second one, longer perspective. The third one is the Dalai Lama recommends. He says if these two things don't work, then you can always accept. So just accept the suffering. A lot of times we are resisting the suffering and that makes it even worse. So he explains this by taking an example or taking a quote from Buddha. So Buddha says, if you are suffering, it's because of two arrows. The first arrow is the actual pain or the actual sadness, and the second arrow is your resistance against it. So if you just drop the resistance and accept the pain or the sadness or whatever it is that you are suffering, then you will only be hit by the first arrow. The fourth one, this is actually something that Desmond Tutu recommends, is that once you accept the suffering, then find meaning in it. So he names the example of Nelson Mandela, who was a bit violent before he went to prison. He was the leader of the military side of the ANC, of his political party, and then he went to prison and he discovered that this could actually be sort of an informal university for him, that it would help him to one day be a better person and lead the country. And actually when he came out of prison, well, he was the Nelson Mandela that we all know, super kind and compassionate. So in that sense he found meaning in his suffering in prison. The last one that both gentlemen actually recommend is seeing that you are part of a greater whole, so that you are not the only person in the world who is suffering because of a certain problem, but there is probably actually a large group of people who is suffering because of exactly the same problem as you. So if you are tired but you can't sleep at night, then imagine that there are probably a lot of people in the world who are tired and can't sleep at night, and then that will make you feel more at ease because you are part of the greater whole. So these are the tips that they give in the book. I will repeat them very quickly because it was a bit of a long video. So the first one is a wider perspective. Take a wider perspective on your problems. The second one is take a longer perspective. Third one is accepting your suffering. The fourth one is finding meaning in your suffering. And the fifth one is seeing that you are part of a greater whole. I hope this works for you, and please let me know.